Okay.
loading that site, and then I'm going to hit record right after that load. Right after that loads. I can't speak. Oh, okay. There we go. Okay, that is launched, and I'm going to record to the cloud.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to open the Inlands, Wetlands, and Watercourse Commission for the town of Trumbull for September 3rd, 2024. I will ask our clerk to do a roll call.
Richard Gerard,
Present.
John Loria, Carmine DeFeo,
Present.
Richard Deacon,
Present.
David Varespi.
David is on the
I
phone.
see.
He phoned in.
Yep.
I'm present. Somebody mute me again. I don't know how to
okay.
mute me.
Greg Cernica,
Present.
Robert Ferrigno,
Present.
town staff Tatiana Solive,
Here.
John Mayer,
Here.
and attorney Jim Cordone.
I am here.
Thank you.
All right. At this point, I'm going to ask our town attorney to give us the legal aspect of doing a public hearing, not public hearing, but a video conference meeting. Excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Jim Cordone. I'm one of the town attorneys. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Trumbull Inland Wetlands Watercourse Commission for September. Pursuant to Connecticut law, the meeting is being conducted by video conference and teleconference over the internet and or the telephone. During the public comment period on an application, which we do have tonight, we do have a public hearing. You may be recognized to speak at the appropriate time by electronically raising your hand, or if you're on the phone, by dialing *9. Those instructions will be given at that time again. The agenda for the meeting and supporting application materials were posted on the town website 24 hours in advance of the meeting, and we're available for public viewing in the engineering office in the town of Trumbull. Any comments posted on Facebook Live or any other format will not be included in the record, and the commission will not see those comments. I would ask commissioners and all participants to remember to please identify yourself before speaking for the benefit of those listening by telephone. I would ask the chairman to make sure that all votes are conducted by a roll call. And lastly, I would remind all parties that tonight's meeting is being recorded. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. All right, we're going to be opening new business, and it's for application for a Mr. Mucciarino. I'm going to ask Carmine DeFeo if you can read the notice of public hearing.
Notice is hereby given that the Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Commission of the town of Trumbull will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024 at 7 p.m. via video conference. Information on how to access is on the website. Application 24-20, Lawrence Mucciarino, permit approval for previously placed fill and installation of detention galleries within a regulated area at 139 Canoe Brook Road. Copy of the application and maps are on file at the town engineer's office and on the town of Trumbull website. Public comment can be sent via email to clombardo at trumbull-ct.gov. Must be received 24 hours in advance of the meeting, or public comment can be made via telephone or video conference connection at the public hearing. Dated at Trumbull, Connecticut, this second day of August 2024, Richard H. Gerard, Sr., Chairman of the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Commission of the town of Trumbull.
Thank you, Carmine. Is the applicant Mr. Mucciarino or a representative with us at the meeting?
I see a hand up for Jay Edwards.
Yes, that's the engineer. Yes.
Okay, would you like me to bring them into the?
Yes, thank you. Yes,
Yes,
thank you.
We'll do that now.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Edwards. I'm gonna ask you to give an overview because I know there were a few changes we talked about on the walk. So if you'd identify yourself, you know the procedure.
I do. Yep, Jason Edwards. I'm with J. Edwards and Associates. We're engineers and surveyors. Office is located at 227 Stepney Road in Easton. Can I share my screen here? Okay, Kim. You also may want to add as a panelist, if possible, Tracy Chalafo, Chal. I don't want to butcher the rest of that, but that's what it starts with. She's the landscape architect that will also be presenting.
All right, she's coming in now as well.
Thank you. Okay, can everybody see my screen here?
Yes, thank you.
A bulk of this proposal is really the landscaping and the planting plans, but just to give everybody kind of a history, if you will, of what was going on here. This house was constructed, in the past 3 years or so. There wasn't a permit in place. Some of that work that was completed went beyond the limits of that permit. The main issue was this area here, this wetland pocket was inadvertently filled and landscaped during the construction. So we are back in here to correct that. And the portion of that work that is proposed to mitigate is really more of Tracy's design than mine, but I'll go through some of the other elements here. The site walk, I guess there was identified by the town engineer that there was a low point in the driveway in this area here near, hopefully you can see my cursor. We installed at that low point or proposed a yard drain that would feed a single gallery and then discharge here independently. The concern being that the runoff was not all going to get to this 1 yard drain that we had down at this low end that feeds the rest of the larger system. That system does handle the roof runoff as well as the main bulk of the driveway all comes down, feeds here, and is piped down through. This is the existing gallery system that's lightly shaded here. And then these are the new units that are being proposed to be installed. So the system is getting considerably larger to account for the additional impervious area. The other, really, I would say major change, we're now proposing this boulder wall that goes around this impacted wetland area, and the proposed grading. That was something that was requested during the last hearing, was to show how that's going to be graded. So we do show some grading here, and Tracy's plan goes into more detail on that. We did add, there was a couple of trees that were requested to be added during the site walk. So there's a dead tree here. One of the commissioners, I believe, was hoping that could be removed. We do have to verify that it's actually on our client's property. It's very close to the line there. So assuming that it is, on his property, then obviously if it's not on his property, then he doesn't have the rights to remove it. There's also a dead tree up here that was intended to be saved, but it didn't make it. So that's shown to be removed. And there's some tree limbs that were across the brook here that are also proposed to be removed. We do now show 2 construction accesses. That was another comment. Originally, we had only shown it coming in from the one side down here, but we think it's more realistic that they're probably going to need to come in from both sides to really work on this efficiently. In particular, with the gallery system, they're going to have to probably carry those down with the excavator or some sort of machinery to get it around there. I think that's the bulk of what I had for my presentation. I can pass it off to Tracy, or if you want to ask me any questions on the drainage or anything, I can answer those now, or we can wait until everybody's done. I'll let you sign that chair.
All right, let's hear Tracy's presentation.
Okay. Tracy?
Hear me okay?
Yep.
For the record, I'm Tracy Shalafo, a landscape architect with Tracy Shalafo LLC. Office is located at 7 King Street in Danbury, Connecticut. If I may share my screen, I'd like to show you the wetland mitigation plan. Okay, is that visible to you all?
Not yet. Now it
There it
is.
Yep.
Okay, thank you for confirming that. Okay, so first of all, I would like to compare the numbers from the approved plan to the plan you currently see before you, the planting numbers. So on the approved plan from 2017, there were 36 trees proposed. And the breakdown of those trees was that 26 of them were deciduous, but there were also 10 fastigiate white pine trees shown within this area because there was some talk about abandoning the driveway. So my understanding is since then, it was decided that the driveway is to remain. So those fastigiate white pines are not needed within this area. Also on that approved plan, 45 shrubs were called for and 0 perennials. The current proposed plan calls for 26 new trees, 6 of which have already been installed by the owner, and then 20 are proposed on this plan. It calls for 54 new shrubs, so that exceeds the approved number by 9, and then 85 perennials versus the 0 on the approved plan. So along the street, there are some smaller, I call them patio-sized trees, which are redbud trees and dogwoods along here. And then above this existing retaining wall, we're calling for some bayberry. And then along the stream, this is a difference between the plans, is we're proposing a buffer between the lawn area and the stream. I believe there was nothing there on the approved plan. So we're just adding, an opportunity for stormwater to filter and also to increase biodiversity. So we're calling for some sedge grasses, ostrich fern, some iris and cinnamon fern. And then we transition to some native shrubs, winterberry here, some viburnum dentatum, to help restore the area where unfortunately this tree is dying or dead, adjacent to the retaining wall. And then a shrub buffer of sweet pepper bush and inkberry just below the proposed boulder retaining wall, and canopy trees, some river birch along the stream here to help shade the stream, with an understory of sweet pepper bush and some red twig dogwood and some more winterberry holly. Within the areas that are proposed to, actually, I should say, cease mowing, there are some canopy trees, some sourwood, tupelo, and pin oak, and then some hornbeam here within the lawn. And within the meadow area to the southwest, we have some shadblow serviceberry. So we're really aiming to increase the biodiversity with this plan and to increase the layers and give stormwater an opportunity to infiltrate and protect the water quality. Now, the area of the wetlands that was inadvertently filled, the goal is to bring that back to the pre-construction grades. So that's what this grading plan is indicating. We compared what the contours had been prior to construction to what they are today. So we're removing an average of 24 inches of fill to bring it back to those grades. And then it would be seeded with a fully native seed mix it's called wet mix by New England Wetland Plants, or an equal. So again, fully native seed mix. And the retaining wall is really just to facilitate the removal of the fill. And there's just a strip of lawn here south of the patio and deck to really maintain the owner's access to the rear yard to the south. Additionally, the fill that is removed is going to be exported from the site, disposed of in an off-site location. The areas that are maintained as meadow should be mowed no more than twice per year. And we give calendar dates for when those mowings may occur. And demarcation boulders would be embedded to the southwest here, which would just transition to the boulder retaining wall, which meets the existing tree well wall here. One of the trees proposed to be removed, as Jason mentioned, it does appear to be off the property by maybe a foot or 18 inches. So I guess that's something that needs to be confirmed. So again, in total, we're calling for 26 trees, 54 new shrubs, and 85 perennials throughout the site. If any of you have questions, I'm happy to answer those or turn it back over to Jason if you have anything for him.
At this point, Bob Ferrigno, can you give a quick glance? On WP1 is the legend for the plantings. And
Yes.
can you give us an idea? Do you see any issues, any that might not be, natives or that you think would, have a problem, being
I
able
think-
to assimilate to this area?
I think generally, the plan is acceptable.
All right. Looks good to you then? That's good.
Yes.
Okay, at this point, I'll open it up to the commission, and then I'm going to ask our town engineer to give us a overview.
David Verespi might want to comment too, Mr. Chairman.
I've opened it up. Are you there, David? I see his phone is
Okay.
I'm trying to log in right now.
Okay. For the record, he is now officially on video, so.
All right. I am on the computer.
Okay, identify yourself.
This is David Verespi.
All right. Are
Just
you, I know you've had a chance in the past. Are you okay with the planting plan?
I heard everything that was talked about. It sounds very good. It sounds typical of what we would be looking for. Typically, we would go instead of the boulder demarcation, we would do the split rail fence. I'm not sure if that's something that we want to, as a commission, entertain on this project or not.
Only thing is a split rail fence down the line is easily removed. Boulders aren't quite as easily removed, so.
This is true.
We'll review it with the commission, see what their thoughts are. So. So overall, you're good on it?
Yeah, I'm just trying to pull it up now.
Would you like me to share the screen for the record, Tracy Shalafo speaking?
That would be wonderful.
And if there's a way to kind of enlarge that section.
Okay.
No, the legend itself.
Oh.
No. Okay. Does that help you, David?
Yes, it does. And I've just pulled it up on the iPad also. Okay. Yeah, this seems to be in keeping with the recommendations that we have made in the past in terms of, spacing for plant material, quantity of plant material, etc. I like the meadow mix that's been provided here and the regrading to get back to our original contours, which is, I think, one of the things that I had asked in the previous meeting was an analysis of the pre-construction and post-construction conditions so that we could see how much material had actually been deposited in there. Beyond just sort of assuming that we're removing some dirt. Did
Yes.
Jason, did you provide that?
We provided the grading plan. I do have the, cuts and fills at each individual location if you'd like to see that. I don't know
Oh,
if
no,
that
I found it.
quantity, is it on that plan there somewhere? It may have
Yeah.
it on there too. I know we calculated it. Just don't know if it's on there.
Yep, I see it. Okay. No, I think we're good.
All right, thank you, David. Any other commissioners have any thoughts? Otherwise, I'm going to ask our town engineer, Tatiana, to give her overview.
Sure. So in terms of meadow area, would the commission like to delineate that somehow? Because I see boulders around the wetlands that are being restored. How do we separate the lawn from the meadow? I'm not sure that's something you'd like to entertain. Another note I wanted to make, just a quick one for Jason. I'm not sure how the patio itself is draining into Colterk, so maybe that's something you and I can figure out after the meeting. Perhaps an open drain in the Colterks would help.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, and then one thing I noted at the walk by the patio that's right next to the lake on the north side, there's just a tiniest kind of erosion. And I see that the plantings are not quite being extended to the patio. So could you please look at that area and just make sure it's stabilized before we sign off on the CO? And otherwise, yeah, as a condition of approval, I would support Commissioner Verespi's comment about a plantings inventory by a professional, because for the staff to look what was planted there is quite complex.
That's why we're fortunate to have Bob and David as part of the commission, because that's their area of expertise. So,
Well, typically the commissioners do not do inspections prior to CO, so I'm not sure how we want to go about it.
I think what I think would be helpful for this commission would be to have at the conclusion of the planting operations a letter from the landscape architect that both quantifies what was put out there and certifies that the plantings have been done in keeping with the original plan. Signed and sealed with their professional stamp and submitted to the engineering office as a part of the certificate of occupancy operation.
Mr. Chairman, just to follow up on that.
go ahead, Bob.
You want to take it to another level, you can ask for the invoices, signed invoices upon delivery of the products of the plant material, in addition to what David's recommended. If you want to take it to that level.
All right, we'll discuss it there. This is for Tracy. When are the plantings being proposed?
Fall is a wonderful time to plant. If we could plant, in September or October, if that's feasible, that would be ideal.
All right, is normally we give a 1-year grant on this, so
1 year would
Right.
be wonderful, because that would, if for some reason a contractor can't perform this on such short notice in the fall, springtime planting is also a great time.
all right. Tatiana, anything else?
No, that's all from me.
So what are we
All
saying? Plantings have to be installed within 6 months of an approval?
Well, let's
Yeah.
see, this is September. 6 months would bring us into
March.
February, so well, end of February, so I don't know, what do you think? Maybe like 9 months? Give them through May and June?
Yeah, I think that's adequate.
9
All right,
months.
so
That'd be
we'll
great.
put down 9 months then.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
Okay, go ahead, Bob.
is there a maintenance program for watering plants being planted in the summer, in the spring? Is there a watering program in place to have these plants survive the summer?
Tracy speaking here.
Go ahead, Tracy.
Yes, note number 7 under planting notes. Wetland plantings shall be hand watered or watered with a temporary irrigation system until establishment.
And what's your period of establishment?
Typically it's the first year.
Okay.
The natives usually establish pretty well within the first year, maybe 2 years, but it's really a matter of just keeping an eye on things.
Okay. So the watering program would be the first year.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Any of the other commissioners have any questions? Greg, I can't see. Carmine, go ahead.
These boulders that are going to be placed, approximately what size are they going to be?
Tracy speaking. Are you referring to the demarcation boulders?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so they are 18 to 24 inches in diameter, and they're set 3 feet on center, and they're countersunk 4 to 6 inches.
Okay, Richard, you mentioned about concern in the future, split rail fence versus the boulders. We still should have some of those plaques, maybe, not on every boulder, but maybe, up to a half a dozen, maybe to be attached to some of the boulders so that future residents will realize that that is a wetland area and is not to be disturbed.
Through the chair.
Oh, okay, well, excuse me 1 second. My thought, and I have it commented here, is that we could do post and we'll put our markers on those because not too easy to put our markers on a boulder. So, but that's a good thought, and that's in my my comments here. Are you done, Carmine?
Yes.
Go ahead,
Those aren't
Richard
quite-
Deacon.
I was just gonna follow up with Carmine. The distance we had used in the past, I mean, you can check past practices. I know we've used, 10 yards apart as a standard in the past. I'm assuming they'll want to be matching, every other 1 or 2 or 3 boulders, whatever spacing they're using. But that's important because we've seen too many times where somebody will go in and remove the boulders in the future. They seem immovable, and in 20 years, 10 years, 2 years, somebody gets the bright idea, hey, I want to spruce this place up. A new owner comes in, incompetent realtors didn't tell them it's a wetland. You can, there's a whole host of issues that are no fault of the applicant. It's the future that could happen. It'd be nice to, begin or to continue enforcing this. It's very easy. It's very inexpensive, and it's very beneficial. That's all. Thank you.
I know. Thank you. As I said, I can see putting probably about 6 to maybe 8 posts in here, and we would have the markers on top of that. All right,
Through the chair.
go ahead, David.
The boulders seem a little small. She's saying they're 18 to 24 inches by 18 to 24 inches, countersunk 6 inches deep. That's something that, can easily be moved at a later point in time. I just think they're a little on the small side. I don't know if there's ability to get bigger stuff.
Do you think we should lean towards a split rail fence?
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Tatiana.
So I just wanted to know that there will be a grade change of about 2.5, 3 feet because they're removing the fill from the wetlands. And I believe the boulders were placed there to delineate that vertical difference. So split rail fence may be appropriate in addition to boulders because it's also kind of stone wall.
Yeah, it appears that the upper part closer to the house is a boulder retaining wall. The area right off the patio there appears to be a boulder wall. And then as it comes to the point and then comes back down towards the stream, those boulders are stretched out a little bit further. And it doesn't look like there's as much grade change through there. And that's where the boulders are doing the delineation. You know, once the boulder wall is installed and there's backfill behind it, that's not moving, but it's the other stretch where those boulders could be moved at a later point in time because they're a little small. That was my one concern. But you could, from that point to back towards the property line or back down towards the stream, do a split rail fence in lieu of or in addition to, you know, and I hear Commissioner Deacon's, you know, concern about, you know, how can we protect these areas in the future? And the placards are certainly one way to do that. The larger boulders as a line of permanent demarcation would be a way to do that. I don't know if there's any way to, you know, get these things on the deed or on the land records or whatever, where it would just follow along with the property, but that's beyond my pay grade. But, you know, that's always been a concern of ours in the moving forward. And the split rail fence seems to be a good way to do that, because we can put the placards right on the fence.
For the chair.
Well, or as I said, where we do the retaining boulders, we could also put a couple of posts there that we
Yeah.
could put the markers on too. So that's definitely, we went through a lot of work to get them, and I definitely want to use them. So
Mr. Chairman.
go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I agree with David. I think the rock, the stone they're going to put in is a little bit on the small side. I'm not sure what the next size will be up, but you know, if it's an 18 inch, it's only sticking out of the ground about 12 inches. So it's really not much of a deterrent, not much of a demarcation. But I would only agree with David that they definitely should be larger.
Well, you want to give this some thought, and we'll discuss it during our work session?
Okay, that's fine with me.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have the full screen. Greg, did you have any comments?
Sorry, did you say public comments? I apologize.
No. I said Greg.
Oh, my apologies.
Nope. Okay, there any other comments or questions from the commission? If not, I'm going to open it up to the public. So we're good. And also, before I do that, any other comments, Mr. Edwards or Tracy?
I'm all set, Jason Edwards. I'm good. Tracy, do you have anything?
None for me. Thank you.
All right. All right. At this point, we'll open it up to the public for comments.
All right, we already have one attendee with a hand up, Larry
Okay.
Mucciarino. I'm going to acknowledge them first. They've had their hand up for a while. And if anybody else would like to speak from the public, please raise your hand. And we will get to you. Larry Mucciarino should be a panelist now and talking. Let me try one more time.
All right, well,
There you go. Okay.
okay. Mr. Mucciarino,
Yes, hello.
yes. Can
Originally,
you
I raised-
identify yourself? He's actually the applicant, but if you
Yes.
would identify yourself and give your address.
Yes, Larry Mucciarino. I'm the applicant, 139 Canoe Brook Road. I originally raised my hand just to say I was here, but
Okay.
a couple comments just on to help you along. I don't mind putting larger stones in. I did that in the front. I also have a guardrail in the front of the house. I'm not sure what the split rail looks like. I could do the guardrail is sturdier, but the split rails, like those two rails on, is that what those are?
Yes. Yes.
Um, the guardrail I put in the front of the house, and it's on the drawing, tends to be a little shorter, but it's very meaty. So that's just something if you want to think about it. But I don't have a problem putting larger stones, but she's got these 3 feet apart, so it might be almost a solid stone. Uh, that seems to be closer than what you're normally doing. As far as plaques, I would say the plaques should go on the markers. You have the yard markers that actually tell you the delineation of the wetlands. That would be within boulders. We can put some permanent markers on those spots. So that's just a thought too. If you want them on something else, I could do that as well. But other than that, I didn't have a problem except for I'll probably have to do the water retention first. So it's going to probably push the planting back. I really don't want the people doing the digging for the water retention system to damage any of the plants. So that would probably so that's going to make my timetable to get the plants in the ground probably more springtime rather than fall. I try to get the drainage done in the fall. That was just my thought when that came up. And that's really all I got.
Would you be more comfortable if we gave you a year to get your plantings done?
I would. I'm going to try to get all the drainage situation done the end of this year, and that's going to push me back. So I'm not going to be able to do a fall planting. It's probably going to have to be more of a spring planting. That would just give me a little leeway. Yes.
All right. Well, what I would suggest then, if you find that you're going to be going past that, I would say go to the town engineer and you can work out a letter there, because otherwise we're going to expect it to be done within the year. But if you needed an extension, we would work with you. So,
Okay. All right. And that was just my comments. Thank you.
all right, thank you. Is there
Through the
anyone
chair.
else from the public? Go ahead, David.
Just to speak to Mr. Mucciarino, the guardrail in the driveway tends to be a little bit more vehicular and commercial looking, whereas a split rail fence is a little bit more fence and residential in scale, just for clarification.
Okay. I didn't really have an objection to it. I just didn't, I was looking at the other one as being more meaty, sort of more firm.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you something, David, because this is your area. You went with these large boulders versus doing an actual little stone wall. I don't know the cost factor. And again, that's not something we normally look into, but it would be more or less permanent, and it would definitely, fill in the gaps. What are your thoughts there?
A little stone wall, I think, would be more expensive. And that's something that it would be an upgrade to either a fence or a row of boulders. And I think if Mr. Mucciarino said, we'd rather do that because we think it would look prettier, I think we would be amenable to that. But I think to burden the applicant with that at this point in time, I don't think is warranted.
No, I totally agree. I'm just trying to get an idea, because that's something you work with daily. I don't, so.
Right. But, if we were doing larger boulders and then still maintaining the 3 feet in between, you're going to use less boulders and they would still be spaced sort of the same. It's just making sure they're at a size that they can't be easily rolled out of the way.
All right. Good. Anyone else from the commission? I have a question for our town video gentleman. I don't see Greg. Is Greg on our system? I haven't seen him.
What is Greg's last name? I don't, I do not see a Greg connected currently.
Okay, I guess he got knocked off then.
Looks like he got knocked off.
Somebody's all broken up.
We do have another raised hand from the public. It's
All right.
DL. I don't know if that's another person who wishes to speak or not.
Yeah,
All right.
I'll promote them right now. All right, DL has been added, pops up right now.
All right, if you can identify yourself and give your address, sir.
My name is Dean Lindsay. I'm sorry my name doesn't show up there. And I live at 160 Canoe Brook in Trumbull. So I'm a neighbor and also a member of the Conservation Commission. But I just want to thank all of you because this appears to me to be quite an improvement for the neighborhood and for the lake. And it's obvious a lot of work has gone into these plans, both on the part of the commission, but also the landscape architect and the engineer, and also considerable expense for the owner. So I just want to say thank you to all of you.
Thank you. We do our best. Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public?
Anyone else from public would like to speak, raise your hands. Not seeing anyone raising right now. I think you're all set.
All right, thank you. All right, I was trying to find Greg. I don't know what happened, but
Yeah, he's back on.
he is, because I'm not seeing him. Oh, there he is. Okay. Greg, did you have any comments? I don't know if you
No,
had an issue.
the placard thing, I think some of that is an aesthetic issue for the neighbor. Obviously, we want some mark, whether he puts into stone, whether he wants a combination of a fence and the rock and the boulders. I think the idea of a bigger boulder makes sense, but I think it's up to the homeowner, because boulders are going to be more money if he prefer that look. We just have to figure out a way to get some sort of marker there. That's all.
Well, my thought is if he does the boulders, we'll have some pressure treated posts put in, because our placards are 6-inch round placards.
Okay.
So, all right. Any other comments, questions from the public? I don't see anyone else coming in.
Nope, no one has raised their hand since.
All right, then I go back to the commission. Do we have any other comments, questions for Mr. Edwards or for Tracy? We're good?
Good.
All right, then I will, Mr. Cordone, any comments from you before I close the public hearing?
No, sir.
All right, then we will close the public hearing and we'll go to our work session then.
Thank you all very much.
All right,
I make a motion to close public hearing.
seconded by Bob. All in favor? I'm a yes.
Yes,
Carmine's a yes, Bob's a yes, David's a yes, Greg's a yes. Okay. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right, before we go to our work session, let me see here. Question looking for land letter. All right, so,
Carmine blacked out. You can't see Car, there you go.
oh, there you go. All right, Greg, are you able to entertain a motion on this? I don't know how far out you were,
I think so. We could add to it, but anyway, I make a motion to approve application 2420. permit approval for previously placed fill and installation of a detention galleries within a regulated area at 139 Canoe Brook Road in accordance with the following conditions from the Town of Trumbull's Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Commission, Section 1, General Conditions 1.1 to 1.10, and from Section 3, additional conditions 3.1, plantings must be installed within 1 year of the approval. Condition 3.2, applicant and or engineer needs to provide a plan to Trumbull Engineering Department on the potential drainage issue off the patio by the house. Condition 3.3, applicant and his engineer to work with Trumbull Engineering Department at the small patio by the lake to make sure there's some stabilized work that might have to be done over by that patio. I guess there's some erosion there. 3.4, applicant and or landscape architect to provide final documentation of the plantings, numbers, quantities, and include invoices of plant material purchased and installed. And then 3.5, some installation of posts and markers along where the boulders will be, or an addition of a split rail fence in lieu of, if they make a decision in lieu of retaining boulders, but markers need to be installed.
Okay, Greg, and that would be overseen by our town engineer. The placements of the posts and if they do the fence where we would put the markers. Now, in addition, Tatiana, earlier we taught you suggested a site monitor.
Yes, a third monitor, but just can we stay on the split rail fence for a second, because I just want to make sure the commission wants the area that's currently delineated with boulders also enhanced with posts, right? And placards. We're not worrying about the meadows areas or anything beyond the boulders shown on the plan. Is that correct?
Are we talking the ones that are closest to the house, or are we talking the ones that are 3 foot apart?
I mean, the question I think Tatiana's coming up with is, right now they have the boulders sort of separating the meadow and the wetland area. The concern going into the future might be that the meadow area will get unsightly and they'll just mow it down and install grass, as opposed to allowing it be the meadow and doing its ecological services that it's put there to do.
What your thoughts were, Tatiana?
Yes, I would just like some direction from the commission as to where the rails and placards you would like to be installed.
Well, there's no way to put the placards we have won't go on a stone, so we'd have to definitely add. I don't know what happened there. We definitely would have to put posts up on where the rocks are going to be solid together. So we just, I don't know, we'll work that out. Like I said, that would be overseen by you, Tatiana. Then if he does choose to do a split rail fence, then we could do, I don't know, what's a split rail fence, run 8-10 feet between split rails? I know we'd figure it maybe every 30 feet or something. But
so I think, Tatiana, you want it, we want markers identified on both on the entire boulder wall.
Okay,
That's, I think, the message you were looking for, right? Not just the one spread out, but both sides.
correct. I just wanted to see where the locations are and we can iron out the details of what the applicant prefers and the spacing in the field.
I'll tell you what I'll do. We'll work it out together.
Okay,
As, for those of you that have not seen the placard, it's basically our seal, as you see it on the screen, and it says the Wetlands Commission's on there. So it's not, like I said, really designed to be put on a boulder. So, are there any other items to be added?
the
Are we
third
good?
party monitor, I think I've
Yeah. So,
yeah.
but I'm saying before that, any other? We're good. All right, then we would also ask for a site monitor to be brought into this project. You got that, Greg?
Yep.
All right, now I need a second for the motion, seconded by Bob. All in favor, I'll do a roll call. I'm a yes. Bob?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Carmine?
Yes.
Gregory?
Yes.
All right, so
Mr.
it
Chairman,
passed. Go
You are
ahead, Bob.
the scope of the responsibilities for the site monitor are somewhere documented.
Tatiana?
Typically it's a site monitor for erosion controls. They usually submit weekly reports with photographs.
Primarily dealing with erosion.
Typically, yes, in this case, if the commission would like to expand the scope or better define it, that is fine.
I'll tell you, for myself, when I do things in Fairfield, they require weekly. You've got to do a report, you have to do photographs, even if nothing's been done that week. You still do a report, you still do photographs. So is the main concern here the erosion, or what are your thoughts, Tatiana?
I think the main concern really is making sure the applicant adheres to the approved plan, because this plan is to remediate due to the filling of the wetlands. So it's really.
Can we have the landscape architect provide the site monitoring?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think, because the main concern here is the removal of the fill and the recreation of the wetland space and the installation of the plantings. So the landscape architect on record for the project would probably be the most appropriate person to be responsible for the monitoring and reporting.
What kind of reporting would you want, Tatiana? Weekly reports?
Weekly or bi-weekly. We typically work with applicants. If they don't have any work scheduled for a month, we don't require them, honestly. But typically it's weekly
And photographs?
with photographs. Yeah.
All right. All right, so I believe that's it. So the motion has passed. Minutes. Mr. Carmine, did you get a chance to review the minutes for July 2nd, 2024?
Yes, I did, and I would like to make a motion that the minutes from July 2nd, 2024 be approved.
I need a second.
Second.
Who seconded it? Okay,
Deacon.
David? All right, our Deacon, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And let's see, July 22nd.
Again,
make a
July
motion.
22nd, I reviewed the minutes and I make a motion that they be approved.
Okay, and again, seconded by Rich, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to go back and correct something. I just realized when we were doing this motion, I don't know if I overlooked Rich Deacon when I was doing the call. Are you a yes on that motion?
Yes,
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure.
I think I got cut
wasn't
off.
sure. I wasn't sure if I heard you or not. All right, Colleen, is there anything else that has to come before the commission?
Nope. Well set.
I see David Respi's hand up.
Through the chair, one of the things that we have struggled with on this commission is follow through on the plantings, maintenance, etc. And tonight we introduced as one of the additions to the motion or condition of the approval was to do the follow-up report by the landscape professional with the invoices, etc., and the letter certifying that all the plants are in prior to issuance of a CO. I think that's a good addition to our approvals process, and I would love to see if we could get that included as one of our standard conditions of approval, or if we could even get it into the regulations somewhere. I know this sort of making a standard addition to the approvals would probably be a faster and easier route than changing the regulations. But this would give us that ability to make sure that the plantings are installed and they're certified to be installed, and somebody's putting a sign and a seal on it. That would just give a follow through to the approvals that we grant here. I don't know what the commission's.
Oh,
I'd be
I'm
happy
sorry.
to sit down with David and help you make those conditions, Mr. Respi.
All right. Something
Okay.
that David and I talked about, we did the walk together, is that also a contractor's letter stating that they would follow and fulfill the applicant's plans, because a lot of times we're not sure if they really have done what they said they would do. So I think it's a good idea, and Richard can work on it, meaning Rich Deacon, myself, yourself, and then we'll work on something and we'll get it proposed in our next meeting. I see your hand up, Bob.
Yeah, are we adding site monitor that, Richard? Are you adding site monitor included in that?
Or, well, again, it would be, dependent upon the scope of the project.
Yeah, site monitor is a little bit more involved.
Yeah.
This is sort of just at the end of the project before they get a sign off for a CO, being able to actually say, yes, we did install the plantings. Our professional signed and sealed. They're putting their professional stamp on it, saying that it was done.
We'll deal with that request by request, applicant by applicant.
Yep.
I think it should be a standard condition.
As a follow-up on that.
Site monitor.
Go ahead, Carmine.
As a follow-up, since we typically ask for 1 year survival rate, what about another letter after that year's time certifying that the plants have survived and are in, good condition?
I would be open to that. I think it's certainly something that we could talk about. Mr. Cordone would probably advise us on all the legal ramifications of all of this and make sure that we stay straight and narrow.
Well,
All right, so
good.
Go ahead, Counselor.
Well, these are conditions of approval, I think, are the best thing to do, because not every wetlands approval would require all of these things. In fact, there's wetlands approvals where there's not a landscape architect involved.
Right.
So I think what the suggestion is, if I heard it correctly, is we just add these as part of our regular conditions. Maybe it's another 3.5 or whatever the number is, 4.2. And we add these 3 other items that you just mentioned. And then when Mr. Cernica, as he does do our motions, thinks they're applicable, he could, add those as conditions going forward. So maybe that's a way to deal with it. And
the question I would have on that would be, okay, the homeowner comes in and we tell them to do a certain degree of planting. And there's no landscape architect involved. They've just proposed a planting on their own. How do we still have a form that the homeowner then would fill out and say, yes, I'm certifying that these plants were here and in, and this is the invoice for the work that was done?
Well, I don't know that in every circumstance that would require that. If somebody cut down one tree and they planted the same tree back up, the town staff goes out, they see it, they check the box, right? So I think it's probably on a case-by-case basis, and if you want them to certify that they've completed the work, they can do that, of course, after the fact. They have to comply with doing the plans, period. We're just looking for verification that they did it, right?
Right, but there have been some projects recently that, we've approved a plan and no work has been done.
Right, that's a violation. Yeah. Mhm.
No. No, I know exactly what your thoughts are on that one, David, because we discussed that. So my suggestion from Rich Deacon, from Bob, David, put together a list. We'll bear it down, and then it's something that Greg can have. And as the issues come up, then we'd be able to put them into the as part of the motion. So.
Okay.
I'm also going to take this quick moment. Mr. Deacon, anything from the planning and zoning? Because I heard you and Carmine say something about what's happening over in Nichols. Will that affect us at all, wetlands?
There's currently an application for a change of zone use, a zoning overlay zone over on Unity and Booth Hill. That area would be changing from the current 200 feet of unbroken frontage on a state highway to anybody also within 2,000 feet of exit 50. That still has to be up for approval, and it's unclear if there are wetlands on that subject property. Because theoretically, it could apply to numerous properties, but we all know the applicant where they are. As soon as I can find out whether or not there are wetlands on that property, I can alert the chairman.
All right,
Through
thank
the
you.
Chair, there are definitely wetlands and a watercourse on that property.
Okay, so in that case, you're encouraged to attend the meeting. Our meetings are in person, and should you want to find out more than I can offer you now, because I have somewhat limited knowledge, please come third Wednesday.
I'm quite sure that we would be notified, so I'll make an effort to get over there myself. All right. Thank you, Richard. Anything else before I close? All right. Summer went by quick. I can't believe Labor Day is gone. I thank you all. If there be no objection, I move to adjourn. Thank you. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Thanks.